Hey, it's Game Changers with Vicki Abelson, and my guest today is Ricky Byrd. Ricky!
Vicola.
Vic, I love that. You know, that's what my father used to call me.
Is it
And
really?
you're
Go
like
go to your room.
No, he didn't do that. But you're like an old Jew from the Bronx, like my Catskills, old Jew from the Bronx.
That's a good way to start off.
Well,
Just so you know, my dad and that side is all Italian, and my mom on that side is all Jewish. I know. Don't tell me.
what? What's the joke?
No, it's like, was your mother's Jewish? Oh, then you're Jewish. I'm just New York. You know. Hey, what do you think about my backdrop?
I love your backdrop. It's not a green screen kind of thing.
No, it's a photography. I just got it on Amazon because my basement is not finished anymore thanks to Hurricane Sandy. But you know what I do when I'm not using it? I rent this out to hostage videos.
Nice. Hi, Phil. I'm going to look at people as they come, and maybe we'll talk to people.
Hostage videos. Wait for it. 2, 3.
All right. So yeah, tell me now, what's the fixation with the Catskills and with comedians? Where did that passion start?
I've always loved show business. Like since I was a little kid, I was always watching the Ed Sullivan show when I was a kid with my family.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love the music stuff because, you know, I've been playing guitar since I'm 9, but when there was a good, like Jackie Vernon or, you know, I mean, I memorized their routines. There was just something about, and I grew up on Jerry Lewis, you know, I mean, right. I just loved Jerry Lewis when I was a kid, but I just love that format, and I really love the old fashioned, you know, hokey Ed Sullivan like Alan King.
Me too.
I mean, he did a bit. I remember my friend sent me this. I can't remember. I think it was Ken Dashow actually sent me this bit that he did. Alan King did called "Survived by His Wife." That's famous bit.
Okay, tell me.
So he would be on stage and he'd have like a newspaper, right?
Yeah.
And he'd say, "Let's look at the obituaries because I will stand here and I'm telling you that every man that dies, it's going to say survived by his wife." And he would go into the audience. He said, "Lady, read this. You know, Moish Schwartzman, 82 years old, survived by his wife." You know, so he was trying to make a point, you know, but yeah. I would be on the floor. Like, I love that stuff. And I remember when I was a kid, my grandparents had Belle Barth records.
Wait, I don't know who that is.
I'm going to educate you on some stuff now.
I'm sorry. I know pretty much all these people. I don't know who that is.
So Belle Barth was like a Yiddish comic, right? And she, you know, the kind that she would tell the story in English and then the punchline would be in Yiddish. Right? You know, yeah. But they would make me go in the other room when they played. Like she was like a dirty comic, like not today dirty, but you know,
right.
She was blue. Right. She was blue. By the way, you know what where that comes from?
Where? No, I don't.
So back in vaudeville, when a comedian or an act was telling risque jokes, they would get a blue envelope backstage with suggestions of what they had to take out of their act, and that's where the saying I don't work blue. How do you like that?
Now, I did not know I would be getting a comedy lesson today. I thought we were going to be talking about rock and roll. I did.
Rock and roll is comedy, by the way. So you know, I love that. And then when I got to, and I was listening to Lenny Bruce when I was 14 years old.
Yeah.
And when I got to be 16, 17, I was in this band that I joined in Manhattan. So we were trying to get a record deal. We were called New York Central. They had a single on RCA before I joined the band. And I found them in the Village Voice, where we found everything, right?
That's right.
And so to make money on the weekends, we would play at the Pines Hotel and the Raleigh sometimes, but mostly the Pines Hotel. We were the rock band, you know, and I was like 16 or something like that.
Ricky, what year? Because I was up there all those summers. My father was an MC.
What year?
What year? I was there all my life. When were you doing this?
Maybe 74, something like that. 73, 74, 75.
73 was my last, yeah.
Yeah, so we were the rock bands because we were playing like Honky Tonk Woman, and we would play in the teen room. And
right.
we would play Honky Tonk Woman, and because it's funny, I'm still friends with my friend Mike Neville, and we were talking. We reconnected a couple of months ago, and we started telling stories. We were on the floor telling stories about the stuff we used to do. I mean, we would be drunk. We'd be running through the lobby and causing havoc, And there was a guy named Artie the cop who used to follow us and like write notes. We never know where the notes went, but he would just always write notes. It's like a Barney Fife guy. But so we would play. So we'd do Honky Tonk Woman, but it was also the time we would do like we would do Green River. I remember stuff like that. We would do like Barry White.
Right.
It was around that time. Those kind of songs.
Right.
We do like Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right. Of course.
So we would play, and then we would go into the big room, which maybe it was the Wedgwood room or something like that. Can't remember. And we would watch the acts, right? And Freddie Roman, Malzy Lawrence, Charlie Callis. I'm thinking of the Italian guy.
Who I got to meet last year,
Dick Capri.
Yeah, the Borscht Catskills.
Catskills on Broadway. Yeah, I saw that 3 times. But so we would go watch that, and I would just love to watch that stuff. Just the I don't know. There was their timing. It was there. In fact, Malzy Lawrence, who I love, he would do a thing. And when I was playing acoustic shows, I would do this, right? I would use one of his things. I'd go up to the lighting guy before the show and I say, look, I'm going to do a really nice ballad, and I'm going to say to you, but I don't want you to do anything. I'm going to ask you to do something. Don't do it. Right. And I saw Malzy Lawrence do this every show. Right.
Yeah.
So I'd say, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to do like a beautiful, sensitive ballad. This would be fabulous with some mood lighting. And in my head, I'd count to like 5, and then I'd go, that's perfect. And I would get such a kick that the people would laugh at that every single time. It's just basic, Catskills comedy. So, but the best part is like after the shows, we'd all go to the coffee shop, which was 24 hours.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just like Broadway Danny Rose, we would sit there. And remember, I'm only 17.
Right.
We would sit there with these guys, and they'd be telling, I remember when I was supposed to be on the Sullivan Show, and you mentioned Mitzi McCall. They got her at the last minute.
I was going to tell you.
I know. That's why I used the name.
And Charlie Brill. Yes.
Yes, and Mitzi McCall. They put her in instead of me. They cut me, the bastards. And then I realized that that's me now, because me and my friends sit around and talk about. Remember we played in Sheboygan, and Cheap Trick. Remember this one and this one. So it just keeps getting passed on. I don't know.
It's a good one. So let's
wait. Let me tell you something. This is my favorite subject. Screw rock and roll. So me and Ken Dashow, New York, Q104. We have this pact that whenever any of these guys played Westbury, we'd go see them.
Right.
So we go to see Freddie Roman, and we go backstage, right? And I've been insulted by Don Rickles, so I wear that as a badge.
It doesn't get better than that.
Yeah, but so Freddie Roman's standing back there, and it's after the show, and he was fabulous, and he's got the tux on, and he's got the tie hanging like Dean Martin, and on Playboy After Dark or something, right? And he's got like a vodka in his hand or something like that, and he asked, kidding around, he says, could I get you anything, a drink, some drugs, anything, like clowning around me? He says, Freddie, I just want you to tell you, these days only my hair is chemically dependent. Wait, nothing. And I said to him, hair, chemically dependent. And he goes, I heard you. And to me, that was the greatest thing in the world. I mean, that's what I want.
Yeah. When you can make those guys laugh, it just kind of doesn't get any better.
Well, I didn't make him laugh. He was putting me in my comedy place,
Right. But that he was repressing for you.
Yeah, it was fabulous, and we would go out and see these guys. We saw Frank Gorshen. It was one of those nights. It was like Malzy Lawrence, Freddie Roman. I don't know. I can't remember who else was up, but Frank Gorshen, and he was bombed. He was bombed, and then he bombed. Like he was telling jokes and he wasn't getting.
Did impressions.
Yeah, and he was the Joker.
Right, he was the Joker, but
he's gone now. He's passed away.
Yeah.
But his jokes were not going over. I mean, they were just all over the place. And he started like insulting the crowd.
Oh God.
And everybody, me and Dasha were like, and you could see people just started getting up and leaving. And it was just, but that's part of, the learning process of those guys. And a lot of those guys, like the Catskills guys. Okay. So, we would go up there for, a couple of years in a row.
Right.
For every Charlie Callis that we saw, or Shecky Green.
Right.
There would be 20 guys that nobody's ever heard of except for us. And if Catskills on Broadway didn't come out, nobody ever heard of those people. So, and I found that heartbreaking, and a part of Americana is gone forever. See?
Whoa.
And I don't think there's been a lot of documentation on there's been documentaries. There's a documentary on Netflix about Kutchers and stuff, but there's no real, except for Catskills on Broadway, there's no real put together documentary on all those guys, like hundreds of guys and gals that just went up there. Some of them had jobs during the day and during the week in the city. And I just think it's just a missing part of Americana and American show business. And I just love that stuff.
It really is something that needs to be. I have some of it in my book, but Dirty Dancing was great, but it was not what I lived through. It was not the Catskills that I knew. I mean, in tiny part, it was better than that. It was better than that. Yeah,
and I was telling you that I joined a really fabulous Facebook Catskills. It's called Catskills in the Borscht Belt Hotel, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'll write something like, whatever happened to Billy Alfred Jr.? He was the MD. And then 12 people go, oh, I know Billy. My husband played in his band and he's living in like Boca Raton now. And he's like, and man, when next time I get down to Boca Raton, I'm going to find Billy Alfred Jr. and say, dude, I was in the teen band and I was in the rock band. He's probably like 95 now, but And funny enough, leading into rock and roll. So that guy Billy Alfred.
Yeah.
So he was the MD. So whoever was on stage, whatever comedian, they'd say, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Billy Alfred. And Billy Alfred would go like this off of his piano stool, right? That was his thing. So then we started doing it, So like whenever we ate, when Billy Alfred would walk into the because they put all the entertainment in one section, obviously, because we were pirates. And Billy Alfred would, so we'd go, Billy Alfred, and like 40 people would go like this. So we go on later on when I'm with Joan.
Yeah.
We're opening for Robert Plant. And I told this story, see?
Yeah.
And in catering, I just have to go in the middle of like sitting there. I just go, Billy Alfred Jr. and Robert Plant, and everybody would.
Hysterical.
And that's what I live for, my friends.
So, and you carried this over because when you were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you were kind of like a Borscht Belt comic when you were doing your acceptance speech. It was fabulous.
I worked really hard on that, man. I was like Neil Simon writing a play. Like I wanted to make sure I got laughs and just was gave props to everybody that deserved it and really sort of cleaned house and but I wanted it to be funny.
And it was very funny. It was very funny. You had it all. You had pathos. You had all that stuff going. It was really wonderful. I was incredibly
gotta have pathos, my friend.
I was very proud of you. Has your life changed since you were inducted? Has
Not at all.
World Not at all. Not at all?
No, of course it is. I mean, it's nice to say, it's like that thing, like when you see an actor on Letterman and it's like Academy Award. So I got that. So it goes by my name. It's great, and see, it's great for me differently. I see it differently. I mean, it's fabulous to be in there, and let me say, God bless Joan for letting me be part of that journey and bringing me in there. But the thing for me is like, and the statue is lovely too. The thing for me is like let's see it. Are you holding it? No, it's upstairs. I'm in my basement.
Okay.
Like a lot of the things that I do are because of my history and because of, you know, my age and stuff, like I'm always asked to be in these all-star bands, and we get to do all these benefits and charity work around the country and this and that. And there's a group of us, you know, and then sometimes it's Paul Shaffer's there, sometimes he's not, and it's Rob Arthur, and sometimes you know what I mean?
Right.
But we were doing like 6 years or so in a row. We were doing this really big event at the Rock Hall.
Right.
And it was for the Rock Hall, and it was for kids, you know, music instruments in schools and this and that. But and it took place in the same place that the induction. It's the Convention Center, which is a very famous place in Cleveland where like the Who and the Beatles played. It's just this giant place. But what I would do is whenever I was there, I would take a walk through the museum by myself. See, and I would see, and now I'm getting the chills. I would see Sam Cooke's tuxedo, and I would see Chuck Berry's guitar, and I would see Johnny Thunder's guitar, and I would see, you know, Keith Moon's drum set, and now my guitar's in there. And to me,
so crazy.
No, so that's what that means to me. It's like, you know, you want to talk about the politics of the rock, but the museum is just fabulous. Like it's just, and I remember the Stones when the Stones exhibit went up, I was there for that. Not for that. I was doing an event, and I just walked through there myself. And I walked through, and I was seeing Keith's outfit that he wore on like a TV show that I saw him. And when I think that my first guitar is in the Rock Hall, and right now there's actually our exhibit is up because they keep, you know, they shift it every few months or whatever.
Right.
But whenever I come there to do something, like I've done 2 recovery events, they put my guitar. They bring out the what's it called? You know, the big glass. Help me.
The display case.
Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Display case. Yeah, it's the 80s were a little rough on me, so every time I go, and then my guitar's in there. And one time I went in there, and my guitar was in there, and in the case with my guitar was Chuck Berry's shirt with a picture, and I started crying. Like it's like, okay, so excuse me, security, they made a mistake.
Okay, now this is like it's a little acoustic guitar, right? It's your first.
Yeah, that was the first guitar that I got when I was 9 years old, and it got beat to shit in Sandy, Hurricane Sandy. It's like the top peeled off a little bit, but they when we were going to be inducted, they asked if I wanted to donate some stuff. So my black Les Paul is on loan, but I gave him my leather jacket, which I couldn't fit into now if you know, with like, you know, oil and vinegar poured all over me.
One of your legs was like, well, both of your legs was like the size of my ankle. You were so skinny.
It was a thin white Duke face.
You were so skinny.
So that they got my original Doc Martens, you know, and obviously Joan's guitar and Gary's bass and Lee's drums, and you know, and it's a kid. I mean, listen, this is what when I saw those Beatles and the Stones on Ed Sullivan when I was a little kid, I wanted to be this guy, and I got to, you know, partake in the adventure. So who am I to complain?
You got to be that guy. All right. So you just brought up Hurricane Sandy, and I wanted to talk about that because you've lived through 2 major catastrophes. And I say the second one is what we're going through, is the COVID thing. But let's roll it back to Hurricane Sandy. Tell everybody what happened to you guys and the basement anyway, tell us what happened.
So I'm in my basement now, right? And I had a studio down. It was a finished basement with a TV and, you know,
right.
It was a hang, right? But I had a studio in here. I did my first solo record, Lifer. I did a lot of the guitars in here, and you know, Hurricane Sandy was not supposed to come to my neighborhood, right? And we knew it was going to be bad, but at the last minute, they came on TV and said it's heading for blank, you know. And I just remember going. My neighbor knocks on my door and says, "Check this out." Now we're surrounded by water, not close, but you know. We went outside and he said, "Look at that." And a little bit of water was coming down the street, right? And 10 minutes later, there was a little bit more water, you know. 15 minutes later, it's on the sidewalk. It's heading up to up the front stoop, you know, up the steps.
Well, what time of day is this, Ricky?
It's an interesting question. Well, that part was still, I'm going to say early evening, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember.
Okay.
But it was pretty frightening that night. But by the end, what happened was when I said, let's go upstairs, we heard a big crash. And what that was my basement back door like bent in half from the water. Like the water went up to my car window. I lost two cars.
Didn't your cars float down the?
Oh yeah, man! Everybody in the neighborhood lost their cars. It was like,
Oh.
and what the thing was, all you heard was when it got to a certain point, all the alarms went off. So you'd hear, beep, beep, but it would go like, beep, 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 Yes, death, where is thy sting?
Oh.
And all of the transformers were exploding, and now it's pitch black. So you're looking out your window and you're seeing the water, and you're seeing giant garbage things go by, and it was just like, wow, what do we do? And there was nowhere to go. So
what did you do? I mean, I know.
Interestingly enough,
yeah,
all the phones were dead. Well, the phone wasn't the cell phone wasn't dead, but you couldn't call here. But I remember I was watching something on the History Channel just before that said, if you're ever in an emergency, you could call out of state. It'll work, but it won't work in your neighborhood.
Really?
So I called somebody in Florida, and they called the fire department here. And the fire department said, you're basically on your own. We have everything's flooded. We have no trucks, Oh
my God.
So, we just had to wait. And then I looked down, and it came up through the, here's the ironic part.
How many stories is your house?
It's a 2-story house.
So this was happening in the basement. So
the basement filled up to the main floor, and then it went up, like this or something like that. But outside, like I still have the watermark on my outside fence, and it's it's a nice height, halfway up, right? So what happened was when I looked down from upstairs and I saw the water starting to recede, and that's when I felt okay, because it was receding when the tide went out.
Right.
But I opened my basement door, man, and I managed to get up most of my guitars up. We didn't have much time because we weren't prepared that it was going to be here, this neighborhood. Lost a couple of things, but I had like pictures all along the walls and stuff.
Did you lose like all your memorabilia?
Yeah, I had a lot of baseball memorabilia too, and a lot of all the Blackhearts stuff, like press clippings. I'm not one for saving any of that stuff anyway. But I opened the door, man, and there's a signed picture of Dick Clark floating at the top of the steps. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. So I learned to think of it like God's spring cleaning. You know what I mean?
But weren't you guys like out of house for like?
Oh, yeah, a couple of months. Somebody was nice enough to, the kindness of friends, and then stayed at a hotel a little bit, and then we had to have the whole basement because there was mold, so we had to go through all of that stuff. Tore it apart, tore the floors up, had to tear the floors up. But hopefully we'll never see that again.
That had to be a bitch because everybody was in the same boat you were. Like, get people to do the work because everybody needs the work done?
Well, it wasn't easy. And believe me, they were charging because they knew it wasn't easy. There are always people that take advantage of that situation.
Did you have insurance to cover all of that?
We had some. It didn't cover everything. We had flood insurance. It's interesting. We had flood insurance because we lived in an apartment in the city, and we had it there. And when we moved out here, our guy said, listen, it's only like something a year. Just keep it. So we were lucky. And I had music insurance and stuff like that, instrument insurance. Okay, now you're bumming me out. Let's talk about something else.
All right. So before we go and start laughing again, so what were you doing when COVID hit? I mean, how disruptive was it to your lives, your family, to Carol, to Frankie?
Well, first of all, you could tell there's no vanity left because I'm wearing my freaking glasses. So that went out the window. I mean, I've been doing this, like I've been doing because my new record just came out, but I've been doing recovery events since last year on here. Because I can't do all that. We'll talk about all the things that I get to go do in person. I've been able to do a lot of it just like I'm doing this.
Right.
I mean, last March in New York was like a Steven Spielberg movie, as was Hurricane Sandy. But It was so frightening because nobody knew what was happening. I mean, I did my last gigs in March. I can't remember when, but I remember kidding around at the gigs. Oh yeah. Is it here? Oh, is it here yet? Because everybody was kind of like, that nervous kind of laughter.
Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, man, it was just like rocking here in New York, and it was like ambulances going by every 5 minutes, and it was just extremely rough here. And I mean, it became rough everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that period of time here in New York was brutal. And, say what you want about Cuomo, but his daily meet and greets on TV were comforting to a lot of people, whether you like what his politics or whatever. Okay, fabulous. But his demeanor, his stories about his mother's sauce, we needed to be like, okay, we're going to get through this. This is not good, but we're going to get through this. And I greatly appreciate his, it gave you something to do at noon every day, like what's going on, So, listen.
I was watching Chris every night. Did you watch Chris on CNN when he was going through it himself?
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that was crazy. So how COVID crazy were you guys? How did you stay at home? Did you stay?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were like everybody else. We were just like completely, at first we were, you'd bring stuff home from the market and you'd like scrub everything down and you're wearing gloves. And then I started to think, well, wait a minute now, gloves? So if I touch something with a glove and then touch my eye, isn't that the same as touching something without a glove and touching my eye? I mean, yes. Where's the logic in that? Just wash your goddamn hands, like carry sanitizer around. So at the beginning, everything was very like, all right, you got to be careful. And when somebody coughed in a store, and I've been asked this question a lot with all these recovery events that I've been doing. My theory became accept and adapt, especially musically, accept and adapt, right? Okay, I can't do this, but let me try doing this, But
so how did you adapt? Tell us a few ways.
Well, I used a lot of the stuff that I've been taught in recovery for the last 33 plus years, which was amazingly helpful as far as calmness, staying in the moment,
mm-hmm.
being of service.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out as much as I could to, even on social media, because I'm not anonymous. My recovery is not anonymous. My means of recovery are anonymous, but my recovery is not anonymous. So I would, and everybody knows me already with that stuff. I would say if anybody is freaking out, if you need to chat, DM me and we'll have a conversation. And I talked to quite a few people, and by doing that, by helping other people, it helped me remain centered, And then I got a friend of mine who's now a friend of mine. He was following me on Facebook,
uh-huh.
And he said, "Listen, there's this really great community support group men's meeting out of Florida, and could you speak?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I went on the next day, and this was, I'm going to say it was April.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I went to, I didn't even know what Zoom was yet, or
right.
What I mean? Maybe I went to one Zoom meeting or something like that, and it was like weird to me, and I was afraid, I didn't have my video on, I was confused. So I went and spoke, and I said, "Wow, I love these guys. Look at this. They're all, and it's not all. Most of them are my age or older, but there's also newcomers on there, and then I started going every day, man, like noon every day, 7 days a week, and I got like 5 or 6 really close friends out of that, and I love everybody on there, but and I can't wait to go down and visit my mom so we could all meet in person. We had, some of them were in New York. We had lunch when things started to get a little better, and that was major. So what am I saying? Do the work. And that's what the whole system is built for. The infrastructure of recovery is built to get you through life on life's terms.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put it to work, you'd be surprised how it can help you deal with all kinds of stuff, not just drinking and drugging. I mean, I felt horrible for people that were on the fence and maybe they were just about to get into recovery. And then this hit, and all I kept thinking about is, man, I could just imagine myself in the height of my maniac behavior, sitting here, my family, and saying, "You know what? I'm going to go out. I'll be back in like 15 minutes."
Yes.
But see, there's a pandemic. People are, no, I'm fine. It's going to be fine. I'll be right back. I'm going to the corner. I'll be back in like 15, 10, 15, 20 the max, 20, half an hour the longest. If I'm gone an hour, that's going to be it. I'm just going to pack a small bag, and I'm just going to, but I was like, wow, man, because if you're like, using it, if you're in the heat of active addiction, you will tell yourself that it's safe for you to go out.
Yeah.
Because you will use under any circumstances, no matter what the consequences are. So I felt very grateful that I wasn't that guy anymore, and I felt deep. I don't know, pathos. Is that the word we used before?
That's a good word.
Yeah, for I'm not even sure what it means, but we'll just use it. Did Marcel Marceau do pathos? Isn't that what his thing? Or was that mime? No, that was Shields and Yarnell. Okay, never mind. I digress. So I felt such like empathy for these people. Like I knew it was my gig as somebody in recovery to like go on social media and say, look, if anybody needs a chat. And so that all that stuff helped, and now it's starting to clear up where everybody's looking forward to meeting in person.
So how are you easing back? Okay, so you were going to stores from the beginning. I hadn't been in the store until a month ago. I still was washing everything down until a week ago. So you were going to grocery stores. Was there anything else you were doing outside the house? You Carol, Frankie?
No. I mean,
okay.
After a while, Frankie she has a different job now. I was like Forster Brooks there for a second, but some Google
Irwin
people out there.
Corey, that's who I was trying to think of before. Do you remember Irwin
Oh,
Corey?
thank you, fabulous.
That was just in the moment. Anyway, yeah.
But it was a lot of that, doctor's appointments, and we tried nothing that was. I mean, I haven't been to the gym in a year.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very close, loving relationship with Entenmann's right now. Entenmann's.
I thought it was Devil Dogs.
No, you stepped on my line.
Sorry.
Entenmann's.
Entenmann's.
Yeah, Devil Dogs is good. I just wanted to be more specific. See, Devil Dogs is just one thing. Entenmann's has a whole,
So did you gain the COVID-10?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but it's okay because before this happened, man. I'm like 4-day-a-week gym guy, easy. And funny enough, halfway through this, I bought myself online on Amazon. I think it was maybe. I have a whole. I could see it from here. I have a whole resistance bench and like, all the resistance, cables, and I have a bars and it's over there. How are you? Nice to see you. I used it twice so far. The first time I used it was great. I came down because my studio's down here too, so I put on some loud humble pie and I was working out and I went upstairs and said, man, I feel great, and I haven't been back down since. But you were productive. You put out I put out a record.
Yeah, you put out a record and had the coolest song in the world on Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Back in January. No, wait. Yes, it was back in January. Yeah, because this is what happened. We put the song, we put the record out. Sobering
Times, by the way.
Sobering Times, yes. At like a soft release. In other words, I put it out on my website.
Uh-huh.
Because I did the record through crowdfunding, and it took, a couple of years to finish the record. Not because it took that long, but scheduling. So it was like maybe 3 months to do the record, but it took 2 years. So I wanted to get the record to people, and how do I take a picture? How am I going to do the cover? So my daughter Frankie took the cover photos, front and back.
And they're fabulous. I have them on Facebook. Yeah.
The front cover, we went down to Long Island City, and she took that out there. The back cover was here in the basement. The back cover was in the basement. But so I wanted to get it out. So I put it out on September 25th, 2020. Which is my 33rd clean and sober anniversary. Thank you. And Billy Alfred. So what's life without a bit? You got to do a bit, man. It's funny with me and my kid, Frankie. I told her to do a spit take when she was like 4. But we'll be having a conversation and she'll look at me and she'll go, are you serious or is this a bit? And that's what I like, see. Yeah. But so we put it out September 20th, 25th, 2020. Little Steven, who is a fabulous guy, great station. one of the only stations you could hear new rock and roll, and mixed with old rock and roll and soul and all kinds of cool stuff. And he's always good to me. He always plays something from my record, but he played 2 songs for this record. He played Together, which is the first single, which is a big glam song. And he played Quittin' Time. And then soon after that, we were approached by a distribution company, BFD, and they said, we love this record. We'd like to put it out for real. So it's through them, through the Orchard. And that came out on April 9th? I think it was April 9th. For real. So now it's everywhere. It's all online stores. It's in regular stores, brick and mortar stores around the country. Hopefully, it's going to be around the world, but online, obviously. So that's that. But also, if you want a signed copy, which you can only get it from my website, which is rickybyrd.com, and I'll write some nice message on there.
I have it on the Facebook. So which of the 2 songs which became the coolest song in the world?
That was Together. The song Together. Yeah, it's a big, loud rock and roll song.
It's wonderful.
And in fact, Tommy Price, who played with me with Joan, is playing drums on that. I had 4 different drummers on this record. I kind of picked and chosen, like every one of them could have played anything, but I just wanted certain drummers on certain songs. Okay,
so tell me how you accomplished all of this during COVID.
No, we started the record in late 2018, and we finished it right before the lockdown.
Oh, so you were playing everything in person. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but what happened is so we're finished, and then what happens is you have the finished stuff, and then you want to make fixes, see? So, and we were, finishing mixing. It was all mixed, but, the more you listen to it, you find little things, and then you master it, right? So we had to do that part by phone, which technology is fabulous now because Bob Stander, who's my co-producer for my 3 solo records, the studio we would do most of the work at is out in Huntington, Long Island. But technology is such now where I could be on the phone with him and he'll be fixing stuff in his studio and I could hear it in real time, as opposed to him sending me mixes by email and me listening and then writing notes and sending him back notes, and then he sends it back and then it's not quite right. We were doing it in real time, which was really kind of cool. So except for when things crashed and it didn't work, it was really cool. And then, so by mid-March, I think it was pretty much a lock on everything. There was one tune that I always do a cover song. So on the last record, Clean Getaway, I did Kicks. And that was the coolest song in the world. This one I did Reach Out, I'll Be There, but I didn't put it on the record. And it's really great. It's a great version of it.
You didn't put it on the record?
I'm about to explain it.
Okay, wait, I have to get a power cord or we're gonna die. Go ahead, I'm listening.
She gets up and leaves. It's like my high school experience.
I walked out. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Tell me the story of why it's not on the record.
At the time when the record was ready, there was I think it was a healthcare commercial. They had a version of Reach Out, I'll Be There playing here in New York. I have a clue if it was all the rest of the country. But it was a very commercial sounding. It was not a rock and roll thing at all. And it was just a really, interesting version. Let's just leave it at that of Reach Out, I'll Be There. I mean, it was great for the commercial, but and I said, you know what? It's stupid to put it out now. So what I did was, all right, I still want to put out cover song, but we happened to have cut The Bottle Let Me Down, which is a really great Merle Haggard song, and tonight the bottle let me down, so we had that. It wasn't finished. What we had was, I remember Tommy Price was doing Together. He was in the studio. I said, let me play you something else. Just play on this. You want to play on another song? So he played on that. We did. I mean, the way Merle Haggard did it was very country, right. And I just did it like, like a Faces song kind of. So he played on it. So we had drums. We had one guitar of mine, just sort of a rough rhythm guitar, which sounded great, and a rough vocal. And it's very rare that I would leave a rough vocal, but so we'll listen. All right, I said to Bob, send me everything we didn't finish. Let me hear what we got. And I heard that, and I said, because it was all about the vocal. I had no way to do it. My studio wasn't set up yet. I like that. That's a good vocal. It's like one pass, just turn the mic on, and the rough vocal is just for everybody else to play to. So I said, okay, Bob, put bass on that. And then I said, I couldn't do a lead. So I said, Bob, play a lead, but follow my rhythm guitar. Cause I did kind of a Keithy kind of lead guitar rhythm thing in the solo. And then I sent it to Jeff Kazee, who plays keyboards on my records.
Mm-hmm.
And he played keyboards and he sang on it. And then we mixed it over the phone and it's on the record.
Wow. So are you going to do like a director's cut? Is there such a thing as a director's cut in music where you can put the other cover on there?
Oh, you can do anything you want. I mean, right now I'm just letting this. The thing about it is we're every week now we're starting to gain radio stations around the country, which is really cool.
Let's talk about your wife for a second. Who does this for you, Carol Kay? Let's talk about
Carol does my publicity, right?
She's amazing.
Yes, I've done 50 interviews. I'm really tired of talking about myself. Not really, but but that's why I would rather talk about comedy. It's like I can't talk about music anymore. But so Carol is this amazing publicist. So she did all the publicity, and then BFD distributed the record, and then they they have somebody doing radio promo. And the only thing that's missing is me playing live, and I don't know when the hell that's going to happen. I mean, I don't really have a band. You know what we are doing next week? We're going to go out and we're doing a video for the song "I Come Back Stronger."
I love that song.
Yeah, thank you.
I come back strong. I know the song.
Yeah. So we're going to do that, and going to keep very simple. It's not going to be one of those 1985, giant things exploding and
right.
It's just going to be kind of in a field, maybe. The guys that played on it, Steve Hawley, who played with, Wings, and Jeff Kazee is going to come out. Bob's going to come out and play because Bob plays bass on everything, my co-producer. And we're going to be in a field. I'm not going to be dressed up, just dressed down and big acoustic guitar and sell it, baby. Sell it.
So Ricky, when you do have an opportunity to go take it on the road so you can promote the album, are these the guys you take out on the? Who would you take out with you?
You know what? It's very expensive to put a band together and go out on the road. I could go out and play acoustically. That's my main love because I'd love playing with a band, but that's a whole other animal.
Right.
So I would definitely go out and do a bunch of acoustic, like an acoustic tour. Mm-hmm. And remember, these songs, every one of these songs. Are songs that I wrote for my recovery music groups. What's a recovery music group, you may ask?
I was going to say, let's talk about that and its origin, when that started for you.
Well, it's such a long story, but I'll do the Reader's Digest version. Okay. Does anybody know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
The short version, the Cliff Notes.
Yeah. God, I remember when my grandparents would get Reader's Digest every month, maybe. You know what I started getting now?
What?
One day I just went, I want TV Guide again.
Oh God, come on. They don't make TV Guide anymore.
They do. It's not the little thing anymore. It's like a magazine, but it's really cool. I'm loving it. And Carol loves it.
Wow.
But especially remember the fall issue? You couldn't wait for the fall issue.
Oh yeah, because it gave you the preview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, wow, boy, did I go make a hard left. So so there's a song on the last record called "Broken Is a Place."
Love that.
It's the closing song on that. I like to close the records with an acoustic song, kind of beatly. And I wrote it with my pal Richie Supa, and when I was staying at his house I went down to visit him and we wrote that song. I came back to New York. I recorded it. I put it I just did a fast recording, just acoustic, and I put it online, and I started getting responses from people from around the world saying, "Wow, man, you told my story," and
wow,
and I so identify with that, and I went, "Huh, that's interesting."
Wow.
So that led to a second song and to a third song. When I had about 5 or 6 songs, I reached out to somebody that I had met while I was doing these kind of recovery all-star band gigs in Florida and places like that. Like, we weren't doing recovery songs. It was just like, cover songs, but we were raising money for treatment facilities. Or
how long ago did you start doing that?
I'm going to say 2008 almost.
Okay.
But I wrote Broken in 2012 with Richie.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got that response. So once I had 6 or 7 songs, I reached out to somebody I met through those gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And they, were part of a treatment facility down in Florida, but they also had places up here in Jersey.
Right.
And I said, how would you like, and it's called Sunrise Detox. I said, what if I came with my acoustic guitar and did recovery music groups? I had no clue what I was talking about, but, like in acting. Can you ride a horse? Why, yes, I can. But, and then you learn how to ride a horse.
That's right.
So I started doing these recovery music groups, and I started getting this response, like from the clients sitting in front of me. Some of them they just were there. That was a detox, so that was really hardcore. They were really just starting out.
Wow.
And some of them were on meds, and they were falling asleep, but I really learned. I made my bones doing that, and the thing that I got from the response I got made me want to do it. See. But also, they would come over to me after the groups, and they would say, "Where can we get this music? Like, where so we could take it home when we after treatment." And I'd get that every group, and I was now doing them constantly, or consistently, and I started doing them around the country because one thing, hey, I hear you do these recovery music groups, or I hear you're a speaker. Keynote speaker? Could you come out to Seattle and do a thing? So it started to spread around the country, but they always asked, "Where can we get this music?" So after procrastinating, which I actually am really good at, I decided to do the record. So that's how the Clean Getaway record came along. I did that record. I put that out. And the response I got from that record was the same deal. It was like, man, wow. This is like, I identify with every song, for different reasons.
Right.
I always say, like, if you're struggling with addiction, you're going to definitely find yourself somewhere in one of these 2 records. If you're already in recovery, it's probably going to remind you why you're in recovery in the first place. And if you just love rock and roll, baby, it's just loud and swaggering, Yeah,
something else you did, Ricky, with that I seem to recall from a story. You gave like zip drives or something, like you would give people in recovery on a little drive, right?
It's interesting. At the beginning, how did I do this? I remember when I first was thinking, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
I think I had broken on, there was a company that you could get a card and it would link to the song, and I would give it out at treatment facilities. But when Clean Getaway, when the record was done and I had a stack of them, every time I went to a treatment facility, I would bring a stack and I would give it to the clinical directors. And I'd say, when they complete treatment, give them a copy. And I would announce it, and I'd say, they have them when you complete, not when you decide to leave on your own. When you complete, you get a copy. If they run out, find me on social media. I'll send you, pop one in the mail. And I've done quite a few of those. So that was Clean Getaway. We gave around, I think I wound up giving away about 2,500 of them over the course of the 2 years. And then I started this record, and how did I start this record? Is I go through this thing when I finish a record, I don't even want to look at my guitar. It's like, dude, leave me the fuck alone. And then little by little, it's like sitting over there on a stand, all nice and shapely and pretty and sunburst. And it says, remember when Richard Pryor did the bit when the pipe was talking to him? Rich, come on. That's what my guitar would tell. Pick me up, play me. I'm lonely. I feel abandoned. Mm-hmm. And so I would start by playing along to, I would pop on like a vinyl, like John Lee Hooker or Muddy Waters or something. And I would just play. And after I did that for a while, and I was like, oh yeah, I play guitar, right? I would start, like, I'd be going, yeah, what's that? That's interesting, and there'd be some sort of riff, and then be some chords. Then I'd start humming along to the chords. I'm like, well, this might be something. And I would go get my handy dandy digital hand recorder, and I would throw it down because I can't remember anything. And then I would start coming up. Then I sit down with that blank piece of paper, right, which is my favorite part of writing. That blank goddamn piece of paper with all those freaking lines on it. And what I always write on the top, and then I got into the habit because I read a book when I was a kid called Act One by Moss Hart, the
Yes.
Broadway writer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he worked with George S. Kaufman, and you know, and so I would write Act One just as a tribute, kind of, because that's what he would do. That's why the book's called it. And I would try to, and I started to write, and the lyrics were like the same. You know, I'm still in the same mindset, and I'm like, oh, here we go, volume 2. You know, so I started writing, and then all of a sudden I had, you know, I don't know, 15 songs to knock down to 12. And I tried to. The only difference between this record and Clean Getaway, I tried to make this one like the lane a little wider, so people that might not be in recovery. There's songs that are just about changing your life and for the better, mm-hmm. picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and starting all over again, as Mr. Sinatra said. That's what I Come Back Stronger is about. It doesn't say anything about drugs and alcohol. It's about, you know, we go through life is a lesson. We all live and learn every day, you know. So that was my only criteria is, well, it's 3 things. It can't be preachy. It can't be corny. I hate corny and hokey. And it's got to rock, right? Mm-hmm. And I wanted to add to that. I wanted to be a little wider of a range of stuff where it kind of crosses into other subject matter about just changing your life. And, you know, that's what Starlit Night is about, gratitude. The song, the 3rd song on there, Hear My Song, that it's on mandolin. It's on actually mando guitar. Mm-hmm. It's a gratitude song. You know, it's just a gratitude song. And there's a couple of
Starlet's the one that's that I wake up in the next day and I have a chance to start all over. It's something like a lyric, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's go down to the river's edge. I'll bring my old guitar. You know, that it's people say, oh, that's your Clapton song. I'm like, okay, whatever. And then there's a song called called Tired. That's just like a, you know, rock and roll song, you know, and about being up all night and stuff like that. And I'm just trying to hit all the marks. Musically, it's everything. You know, people say, well, what's your style? It's like, you know, my style is, it's like everything that I listened to when I was 14. That's my style. Okay, so it's Wilson Pickett, it's the Faces, it's the Stones, it's the Who, it's the Kinks, it's Slade, it's, you know, Sam Cooke. That's my style. Everything.
Let's talk about that for a little, for people who don't know you. So how did this begin? Did it begin? How did it begin for you? Was being a guitarist the first thing you wanted to be when you grew up? Was that the dream?
I wanted to be a chiropodist. You got to use funny words, my friend.
Martin Payne, it ain't just paint. Anyway,
30 people on Google go chiropodist.
And spell that. I dare you.
Yeah, spell that. Yeah. I always loved music. My parents were divorced, and when we lived with my grandparents, they always had on kind of like everything from Sinatra to, you know, Dean Martin and classic, not classical music, but big band music. Mm-hmm. You know, music from their day. But then we'd sit around and watch the Ed Sullivan Show every Sunday night, you know, and on that, besides the comedy that we talked about, it would be like, you know, Ed would say, and now for the kids, you know, and it would be all of these great bands, which I only heard on the radio because we had fabulous radio here in New York when I was a kid, AM radio. And I've told little Steven this, like his station reminds me of that because you could hear all different styles on his station. And as great as XM radio is, Sirius XM, every station is a different, right? You know, you got blues, you got jazz, you got this, you got the Beatle chanting. But when we were kids on AM radio, it was just top 40. So you would hear Dock of the Bay, you'd hear Trini Lopez, you'd hear Satisfaction, you'd hear Strangers in the Night, you know, on and on and on. You know, you'd hear.
That's true. I never thought of it that way.
You'd hear Dean Martin, and then Dean Martin would go into "You Really Got Me" by the Kinks, and you know. So
ABC, we would hear that kind of variety. I don't remember that.
Oh, yes, you did. Of course, whatever was a hit.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, because they would do the all of those guys like Cousin Bruce. They would do all those Palisades Amusement Park concerts they'd host in Jersey, and so that's so I heard the music, didn't quite know who were what do these people look like? I don't know. I'm kind of the Beatles. Oh yeah, Shea Stadium, the Stones. But when you saw them, Ed Sullivan, I just distinctly remember seeing the Beatles and loving it because mixing this with recovery, like where does your uniqueness start? Like when did you start feeling different? Like what made you use in the first place? I mean, I had a great childhood. I mean, I grew up in the Bronx, great parents. My dad wasn't there and he drank, but other than that, it was great. Bronx, Neil Simon, lots of family. Sundays we'd go to Flatbush to visit that side, and we'd go up to Yonkers to visit my Italian grandma. But I did feel a little left of center when I was a kid. And if you see pictures of me, like I had a little bold Beatle haircut and this and that, and I love baseball because we could see the stadium, Yankee Stadium, from our apartment, 1035 Woody Crest Avenue, apartment 6C. And music because I always had the transistor radio. So school, I wasn't a big
concourse, by the way.
What's that?
780 Grand Concourse.
Oh, nice. Yeah, my allergist was on the Grand Concourse. But I'm not kidding. My grandmother worked on Fordham Road.
There you
go.
And
of course, the big movie theater on the top of Fordham Road, the RKO Paradise. Was it
Paradise?
That's
right.
I mean, I saw my first movies there, right?
Yeah.
And but so when I saw the Beatles, I just there's something that clicked in me. Like I love the music, obviously, but when I saw the Stones, I was like, oh yeah, that's for me right there. When I saw Keith and like I saw the clothes and I said, oh yeah, that's how I feel. I feel completely messy and that.
Wow.
Then in I'm talking 65, right? When I was 9 years old,
right.
68, the Stones did a video for Top of the Pops, which is the TV show in England, like American Bandstand in England. And they did a video for Jumpin' Jack Flash. And I'll never forget the first time I saw that it was the lights it was dark and they all had face makeup on and like my heart's beating fast now. Like, and Brian Jones had these big, glasses, like everybody was wearing makeup. And I went, oh my God, I want that. And that was when I knew that I wanted to, I mean, I always loved it. This all ties in with recovery too. Like I always loved the dark side a little bit, like even the comedians I loved when I was a kid, Lenny Bruce, right? Richard Pryor, help me, John Belushi, like my writers, the writers that I loved were Dorothy Parker's like my favorite. The Algonquin Round Table, which was a bunch of drunks that were brilliant. Or at least they thought they were brilliant, but came up with like Robert Finchley, all those, and that most of them died of alcoholism or pills. Like Dorothy Parker, I think, died of like a pill overdose. My movie stars, Errol Flynn, I read like his ex-wife's book. Like, he was like looking for like morphine and stuff on Sunset Boulevard when he was in his 50s. I think he died when he was 52 or something. I mean, everybody that I liked had this dark side, and then of course in music, Jimi Hendrix and Janis but as far as in magazines, it all looked glamorous, didn't it? It just all looked like they always had like, girls on each arm, and they were all like at parties, and they had a big bottle of Jack. I'll never forget that famous picture of Jimmy Page backstage with the bottle of Jack. It's like a very famous picture, and all of that was like, yeah, it seems,
How old were you?
I didn't know.
How old were you when you started smoking, drinking, doing all that stuff?
I started smoking pot when I was 13. So, but the difference between me and my friends is like when I smoked my first joint, I just went like, that's interesting. How long's that been going on? It's like, what's that? What's not on my shoulders anymore? Oh, the world. Even at 13, it was like, I don't feel so weird now. This is interesting. And as so like all of my friends didn't feel like, maybe one or two of us have this thing, this
It
thing
is
of ours, as they say.
something.
Yeah. And everybody else grew up and got jobs and got married and bought cars and houses and stuff like that. The
Right.
thing with me is, like, right from the get-go, one joint was not going to do it, and it just became more and more. And as I got older, by the time I was 16, I was hanging out at clubs in the city like Max's Kansas City. So there were older people there, which means I started drinking, you start drinking beers when you're a kid, or back in those days, I guess Boone's Farm or whatever your thing was.
Oh, yeah.
But when you start hanging out in the clubs in the city, I remember starting out with Southern Comfort and then moved on to Jack Daniels, of course, vodka and all that shit. But Jack Daniels, I settled on Jack Daniels. But
me too.
When
did you know, Ricky, that you were different? You were using differently than your friend. Did you know at the time you were using differently than your friends, or?
Oh no, because first of all, back then it just seemed like teenage hijinks. See, it didn't seem like you didn't know you were doing anything wrong. You were just doing what everybody else was. When you were hanging out at Max's Kansas City, most of the people you were hanging out with were like trashed.
Yeah.
We were always like stumbling out of these places and taking the 7 train home to Flushing, when we moved from the Bronx, like on Quaaludes and Jack Daniels. But and then trying to walk from the train station to your house in the winter wearing platform boots. That's a whole other conversation. And the shirts that came halfway up, right? And a velvet jacket and the whole thing. My hair was exactly the same except longer and not white. But I didn't know, and then I get into bands and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But
was music getting in your way, Ricky, when you were young? Was it getting in your way? Was it getting you in trouble in any way?
No, like I said, it was just teenage. You'd wind up, you didn't come home one night, or I mean, it probably kept you from growing up, but it didn't become a problem until you become an adult and you have responsibilities and you're not handling them well. Like your coping mechanism, you go like, my coping mechanism, that's a little off center, maybe a little like that. Let me tighten that up a little bit there, So, and then now you're in rock and roll life and I'm on the road and stuff like that. And not everybody on the road drank and drugged or at all. And not everybody drank and drugged like me. But those are the people I hung out with. See,
right.
And listen, there were people that did more than me. And there were people that did less than me. It's how your amount made you feel. And I think that I did too much too often. And I'm lucky by the grace of God that I got out before it was too late, and so I didn't really know, like through the periods. I'll cut to the chase. Late 70s, early 80s, when cocaine became a thing, especially in the music business, that was the driving force to my demise. That and mixing it with everything else, because I was just a garbage head, so I didn't care. That was the slow decline down.
So you were like at the height of fame when this was going on.
Well, when it started to get rough.
And so did it ever get in your way? Like when you would did you not get high before a gig? How did you handle that?
Question. I never really, I'd like to make this a disclaimer. I wasn't really, like, I could count on one hand probably the times that I was completely destroyed on stage. That's not to say I didn't smoke a joint backstage. Mm-hmm. Not to say I didn't have a Heineken on my on the drum riser.
Right.
I might have been hungover, but my playtime was either after the show, whether traveling or staying in the hotel, or and the next day was obviously recovering from your last night, or when I was home, and then all bets were off when I was home. So no, I there were a couple of times that I tried to do coke before I went on, like a large amount of coke before I got. It's like somebody would put a rail, as we called it back then, and they'd leave for 5 seconds. They'd come back and be gone, and they go, "Where'd it go?" It's like, dude, I did it. Well, why'd you leave it with me alone? What the fuck's wrong with you? And then you'd go on stage, see, and you'd try to play, and like 2 songs in, your body's telling you, "Oh, you gotta have some more, like right now." And so I just did that like once or twice, and I was like, "Yeah, I can't. I don't like that feeling at all." Mm-hmm. And then so there were times getting back to your point, there were times during that period from late 70s to 87 when I cleaned it up, where I had a really, really bad experience, and I said, that's it. But it wasn't really heartfelt. You know, there's remorse. You try to stop, you know, and then
I
knew nothing about recovery.
Can you tell us, like, what did a bad experience look like? One.
You know, when a car hits a wall like at 80 miles an hour, it's just like, you're just like completely a lunatic. I mean, too much blow, you know, too much of everything, just bad behavior. And the whole, I mean, I find drugalogs boring because we have all done them one way or another. It's all you can imagine and more. I mean, so bad to me. I know bad emotional things was that hotel room after the show when you're by yourself, and I know I'm not unique in this, in your hotel room, and you're sitting there and you're sweating and your heart's beating out of your chest, and you've got a bottle of Jack and a pile of Coke and a bag full of pills, and the bus is coming. You got a bus call is in like 2 hours, and you know I mean, does that conjure up a visual?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah. I
mean, all of that. You know, if I sleep 15 minutes, I'll be fine. That thing. That. Lots of just goofy bad shit, and all over the world. All over the world.
Did you have like was there a bottom, or how did you stop? What was the turning point for you?
So when I was turning 30, and my dad and his father both died of this disease, but my dad was like 52, I think. Wow. But then again, my uncle is, you know, he's got like 42 years clean, so you could always change the dynamic of your family. But
wow,
I was turning 30 and I was done. You know, like I was like 128 pounds. It's just walking, talking disaster. You know, I mean, I already had physical ailments. Like I collapsed my lung in '83 from basically from smoking it a little bit. Like I lovingly jest about it when I'm in one of my recovery music group. That's my Richard Pryor period. But then I have to explain who Richard Pryor is. Yeah. And it was brief, but I burnt a hole in my lung, you know. So that was a near-death experience. And then there were periods like when you just do too much blow and you feel like your heart's going to explode, and you know, that whole bit. So at 30, I said, I'm done. And from January of that year until September of 87, I was trying every day to not drink or drug, and I had my diary, which clearly states that I was not successful. And every day was the same. every day was the same deal. You know, today I'm going to stop. You know, we're just going to have a dinner. You know, and then it would be okay. The next day would be like, okay, today we're going to stop. And then right around August of 87, we went to a wedding, and we were seated next to some friends of ours that we used to run with, and it was this girl, my friend Jill. Mm-hmm. And I leaned into Jill and I whispered those two words, which were a favorite of mine, which were, "You holding?" And she said, "No, I'm in recovery, and I go to these places, and I do this, and I got a book, and I write these things." And I'm like, "Good for you. You know? Hope your team wins, baby." You know? And I started looking around the room for another victim. All right, who else looks like they might be? But she kept talking, you know, and to be completely honest, all I heard was wah, 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 wah. You know? But she planted a seed, which is what I try to do now to other people, to newcomers. And she's the person I called on that night when I was standing in front of the mirror, when I was looking, going, yeah, this is going to end, man. You know, I ran out of dance tickets. I was looking for dance tickets. I was looking at every drawer, and I was out of dance. It was like, I got to, if I don't stop, this is not going to work out well. And I called Jill, and she took me to my first community support group meeting. 1, 2, 3, Bob's your uncle. And 33 years later, I still go to community support group meetings. You know, has it been easy? Dude, you go through times when you're broke, when you got money's coming in, I haven't felt the need to pick up a drink or drug through anything that I've gone through in 33 plus years. How's that for
It's pretty
recovery?
damn. Okay,
Yeah,
so
well, that's the deal. That's the deal. Like if you not do it right, but if you work a program, there's nothing that a drug or a drink won't make worse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I've managed to circumvent having to do that. I'm not saying, dude, I didn't bang my head against the wall a few times, but and make some goofy life choices, but I didn't pick up a drink or a drug. And you learn from everything you do. You're supposed to learn from everything you do, and there's like wonderful, great lessons out there for us. And you just keep going, and you keep going by helping other people that come after you that are trying to get clean and sober.
So you talked a little bit about how you started writing recovery music, but how did you start? And I think you were doing it with Liberty. And how did you guys start playing that circuit? What inspired that? So you started playing at recovery events and getting into that world.
You became
a counselor, didn't you? Aren't you a counselor?
Oh, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah, I went to school in 2018. I'm certified as a recovery coach and a drug and alcohol counselor. I've only been able, because of the record and recording, I put together like 200 plus hours of drug and alcohol counseling. You need like 6,000 to get, I'm like a counselor in training. I'll be 87 by the time I get 6,000 hours. But recovery coaching, I'm trying to do a little bit. What the hell was the question?
How did you get pulled to that?
Oh, okay. Well, that was just a decision. I did a recovery music group. It was actually I think it was at Betty Ford down in Tribeca. And the guy that asked me to play there, I said, well, what else do you do? And he says, well, I'm going for my certification. I said, like, really, where? I was just in the right mood, and I made a phone call, and they said, yeah, come. Well, you could do it. It's like a 4-month class, 4 days a week. And you could do it longer, but I squeezed it in, and I got certified for both those things. I worked at a place in Staten Island as a counselor in training for a month or two, 200 hours worth before the pandemic. I'm looking forward to doing more. And how did I start doing these gigs? Right back around, like I said, 2008 or something. I think the first one was my friend Woody Giesman, who used to be in the Del Fuegos. He has a treatment facility in Boston called Right Turn. I got a call from Simon Kirk from Bad Company. And he said, I'm doing this benefit for a treatment facility up there. Do you want to be in the band? That might have been the first one. And it was a great all-star band. It was like Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers and Simon and all my friends. And we were raising money for the charity. And the great thing was after after the performance, people would come over to you and say, wow, that's so cool. I grew up on your music. It's so cool. You're in recovery. I'm in recovery. And I started to see that there might be some other ways to combine music, rock and roll and recovery. And I did a whole series of those things, and I did them elsewhere in other places. And then I started to get asked to do, speak at schools. I spoke at a high school in Seattle and a juvenile detention center, and keynote speaker at like recovery events, in Atlantic City. I'll never forget. I went to a recovery conference in Vegas, right? So the whole giant conference room was all these booths with treatment facilities, and all I could think of was like, how ironic to have a recovery conference in a hotel in Vegas where Satan himself has his own freaking office. I mean, if this isn't the height of irony, So, but yeah, so I go around the country, and that's what I miss the most, is doing my recovery music groups. There's a place in Jersey I've been going to 3 years, once a month. Turning Point, a treatment facility. I haven't done that for a year, but I've been working with some organizations. I'm going to be working with Guitars for Vets and and they help vets with PTSD and drug and alcohol problems. So I could help as a counselor and as a recovery coach and as a guitar player. And different various organizations I'm going to be doing stuff with. There's one organization called Phoenix, the Phoenix organization that combines physical fitness and recovery, which why I'm involved, I don't have a clue. But
God, I need that.
Yeah, I guess I'm the poster boy of what not to do. But and that's so that's how it started. And I just love I mean, I wind up talking about recovery so much during the day that's like I don't even want to talk about it at night, you know, and that's good. See, that's because so I'm involved in it constantly. There's always somebody's like, I'll look at my text. Hey man, my cousin's having a really hard time drinking. Could I give him your number? I'm like, yeah, man, give me my number. I've done,
and you get those calls. You get calls.
Oh, yes. Oh yeah. I did something for Music Cares, a group here in New York, where I would sit with, you know, sometimes when people get sober and you're in the entertainment field or something, you feel like you lost your edge, you can't write, you know, you're scared to go on stage. So because I've been doing that for so many years, they had asked me to lead a group. I did 2 of them. And it was people, you know, I don't know, 9, 10 people. Some people, kids, some people that were like you would know, and they all recent recovery people, and they're trying to figure out how to write again and open that block and stuff. Right. So I think my third act is pretty interesting.
More of that?
Oh yeah, man! I can't wait to start doing this stuff again. I mean, I got a great breakdown. I do my recovery music groups. I do my recovery charity events, and then I do all these cool charity events that has nothing to do with recovery, for kids charities or something like that with all my rock and roll friends. And then I'll have my record to promote, like hopefully live one way or another. And, you know, counseling. I mean, I got so many things I can do. I just have to stay clean and sober to do them. Otherwise they all go away. Like
I have 2 last questions for you. One is,
wait a minute, I can't snap my finger.
You know, I found that yesterday I said, oh God, my snap is like gone. It's like, I don't know. Is that age that you lose the snap?
I can only snap. I'm a right-handed, but I can only snap with my left hand.
Me too. The right hand.
I got nothing. There's no snap.
I got no snap in the right. I don't know what that is.
I have no snap. It's a whole Seinfeld. It's an episode.
I know. So tell everybody how did this start for you? How did you get Joan? But I know you had success before, because I seem to recall that you were touring with Graham Parker before, like when you were just a kid.
Rumor, yeah.
What?
Well, I wasn't a kid.
You were very young.
20s, yeah.
Okay.
Early 20s.
Yeah.
I was in a band called Susan on RCA. And we did that was my first tour. It was with we opened up for Graham Parker and the Rumor across the country, and that was great. After that, we were both managed by Tommy Mottola, who also managed Hall & Oates. Graham wasn't managed by him. I mean, Susan was managed by Tommy Mottola, and so was Hall & Oates. In Hall & Oates was G.E. Smith. G.E. Smith left Hall & Oates and did a record. He asked me if I wanted to go on tour. This was after Susan. I did a tour with him as a second guitar player, opening for Squeeze. So that was a cool tour too. That was my second tour. And then I was kind of home trying to figure out what to do next. And I was a bike messenger. I was awful. I would take speed and smoke pot and never deliver the stuff. If it wasn't for the guitar, man, I'm useless. So I was home in New York, and Carol was working at Leo Krebs, which was a famous management company back in the day. They managed Humble Pie as well as others. She knew I loved Humble Pie, and she introduced me to Steve. Me and Steve became friends, and I was hanging out with him, and we would sit in his apartment and play with And so there was that. John Wade had just left the Babies, and he moved to New York, and somebody at Chrysalis thought I would be good with John. So we became friends. We started writing stuff. And then Carol called me and said, "Do you know Joan Jett?" I said, "Yeah, of course. You want to go? You want to go play with her? Like to jam with her?" And said, yeah, man, cool. And I went down. We got along great, and that was it. And I was in the band. I mean, that's the short version of the story.
That's a good short version. So my other question is: so you started out watching the Beatles, the Stones. You got to play with Paul not very long ago. You've played with Ringo. What was that like for you to go full circle on that and get to live that? That
was great. But let me tell you something about you. I love that you know Phil Rosenthal, because we love him.
Oh yeah, Phil is. When you come to LA, you'll have to come to a pizza and movie night with me at the Rosenthal.
Like we watch, Feeding Phil. Like somebody feed Phil. Like Frankie sings the theme song. Like he's got the best. First of all, Everybody Loves Raymond. We watch, every night. But he's got the best smile and like, like I love how he enjoys. I remember when I was a kid, George Burns. I'd read George Burns' book, and they'd say he was talking about Jack Benny, and he said Jack Benny had this amazing ability to love whatever he was eating at the time. Like he would say, George, you have to taste this apple pie. This is the best apple pie I've ever tasted. And that's what Phil is like. It's like when you watch him eat gelato, like Stanley Tucci, that's a good show too, but he doesn't have a sense of humor like Phil has got this.
And he also doesn't get excited. He's so dry. It is a good show, but he's very one level through it.
Yeah. And he reminds me of Paul Shaffer too, in a weird way. I don't know why. but I love Phil when he talks to his dad, and God bless his mom.
His dad's out here now. They just are doing the whole.
When he tells the joke, I'm like, dude, I know that joke. Like I sit there upstairs and tell the punchline before his father tells the punchline. Like the old woman with the kid that by the ocean, and the kid. Yeah. She's walking her grandson or granddaughter by the pool, by the ocean. And a big wave comes and takes the kid into and the grandmother's, please, God, please, I'll do anything. Please give me back my grandson. Please give me. And another wave comes and throws the grandson onto the beach. And the kid looked up and said, he had a hat.
Yeah, that's my mother's favorite joke.
Oh, me too. Like it's so simple and it's perfect, perfectly written.
Phil,
I heard Gilbert Godfrey do that joke.
Phil will love you just as much as you. Phil loves music. I don't know if you know this about him. He's obsessed with Bruce, obsessed. But before every movie, he shows a music video, and he's very ahead of the curve, and he will love to have you come to a movie night.
Oh
and,
God,
that would
I mean, like that kind of stuff. There's just, and maybe because I know he didn't grow up in the Bronx. I don't think. Maybe it was Brooklyn.
No,
was he
north.
Not even in New York.
No, yeah, north though. No, like Yonkers-ish, I think, is where he grew up.
But there's something, his personality. I've got that personality. There's a common. It's just New York. I don't know what it is. It's just that's why I love Brighton Beach Memoirs. That's why I love Sunshine Boys. We were just talking about my favorite movies, my favorite year with Peter O'Toole.
That is my favorite movie. And I had Richard Benjamin in the living room telling the whole story about how he got Peter O'Toole and everything. Oh, forget about it. And and
I love Peter O'Toole, and I know Peter O'Toole at the end of his life, if I'm not mistaken, he found a recovery from. I remember him talking about it on Carson.
I believe he did.
But
Laney Kazan was in my living room. Oh my God!
His Swanee.
Swan. He's a
swan. He's not a river. Yeah, but every single time that end of the movie, and I know it was written for this. I cry every time when he's just waving the sword around because I can't explain it. It's the story of a career.
Yeah,
but it goes beyond the moment. Mm-hmm. Like, between what do you mean live? I can't be live, I'm a movie star. I'm not an actor.
I'm not an actor. I'm a movie star. Yes.
But that thing at the end, and him being drunk all the time and not seeing his kid, and it's the best movie, and I love Sid Caesar, and I love, all of that stuff is
Joseph
stuff that I've been.
Bologna. I got to
Joseph
meet him
Bologna.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Oh.
All of that, like any of those movies, like The In-Laws, the Sunshine Boys, I could do it from top to bottom. I could do it right now. Both parts, by the way, both parts. But it so much of my childhood and all that stuff, and also there's so much there's something about him waving that thing, just especially as you get older and you've been in the business for a long time. And there's another movie that does this to me, black and white, and it's I think it's called Career. See, and it's Anthony Franciosa. Is that how you say his name? Remember Anthony Franciosa?
I remember him, but I don't know this movie, I don't think.
It's black and white, maybe early 60s. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's about an actor that tries for decades to try to get his big break. Now, that movie makes me cry like crazy. And he finally, when he's got like white hair and stuff, he gets a part as a lawyer. And Dean Martin's in it. I think Shirley MacLaine might be in it. I might be confusing. It's called Career, right? It's definitely something to see. Anthony Franciosa. He was on a TV show when we were kids called Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly. Good-looking Italian guy.
I was just thinking, he wasn't in Mr.
Name
Novak?
of the Game. Too.
Who was Mr. Novak? I don't remember. So
that's another one.
So
what the hell? Did you ask me a question?
Yeah, I'm asking you a question now. So through this pandemic, come on, you got to be watching TV. What are you binging? What have you loved?
Oh, wait, the McCartney thing first.
Okay.
Yeah. So that night was wonderful.
That was
of course.
The question.
Yeah, the McCartney. I have a delay. One of the best parts was at soundcheck. Ringo came over to me, which actually doesn't even sound like a real sentence, does it? But he came over to me, and I said to him, "Can I ask you a question? How do I keep from crying during my speech?" And he said, "There's nothing wrong with crying." And yeah, and I tell that story when somebody starts crying a little bit in one of my groups. But
wow.
People say to me, "Were you nervous?" Now, when I just watched the video. When I watch it back now, I'm like, "Holy crap, Marie!" As Peter Boyle would say on Rain.
Yes.
But it was a band situation. So like, when I have a guitar, that's my security blanket. So
right.
And we were playing, but there was everybody. It was Stevie Wonder to my left, and Patti Smith and Peter Wolf was there, and then of course Paul and Joe Walsh I was next to, and Gary Clark Jr., Tom Morello. I'm trying to remember Ringo. The Letterman band is up there. I can't remember. Billie Joe Armstrong from Green Day. Right. So there were 1 million people up there. And
wait, what was this for?
This was the finale of the induction, the night we were inducted in 2015.
Okay.
So we did 2 Beatles songs, right? We did "I Want to Be Your Man" and "A Little Help from Friends." People say, "Were you nervous?" I get nervous when I watch it back, but not that night. What I was nervous about was giving a speech, aforementioned speech, because right in front of me, at the table in front of me, so I'm at this podium, right? And the speeches were all up on a teleprompter because they didn't want us to look down. Right. Thank God, because I kept my eye that way. Because right in front of me was the table with Paul and Ringo and Jerry Lee Lewis and Yoko and Joe Walsh and Joe's wife and Ringo's wife. I don't think Paul's wife was there. And that was the table in front of me, see? So my only goal was not to look down and just get through the speech. So, yeah. So, no, I was not nervous for the playing. Yes, I was very nervous for the speech. Did you look down when you finished your speech and it was done and take them in for a moment? Did you take them in? I took them in. The only time I looked down was when I told the story of how when I was 9 years old, I watched Ed Sullivan show and I saw the Beatles and I went like this. I was Ed Sullivan. I was introducing somebody in the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest, Rocky Graziano. I could see Paul kind of looked around, like he probably didn't go like this, but for the story, he did it. Right? And so I did look down for that, and but other than that, I mean, I saw my friend Jimmy Vaughn, who was accepting for Stevie. Carol was sitting over here. Like, I mean, I saw my whole record collection and basically was sitting there. So it was, and Alice Cooper was sitting there, Van Zandt sitting there with Maureen, So I was trying not to look down because it's ridiculous. You're standing up there with a freaking piece of paper and you're with a statue. It's like, why am I here? How did this happen? But the thing is, just to end.
So wait, so when you're playing with that, so when you have that moment when you're all on the stage, were you able to be present in the moment, enjoy it, and or was it surreal?
No, I was so present. I wasn't nervous. I was just in a band.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't even there. Like, I was there
face to face. You and Paul were like,
yeah.
Right
well,
there.
that was my doing. In sound check, Shaffer had a list of all the guitar players, and he was tapping us on our shoulders when it was our turn to do the solo. And I noticed in sound check that nobody really went over to Paul. And I said, well, I tell you what, this Bronx boy is going over to Paul because I'm never going to get this chance again. And as soon as Paul went like this, you could see me on the video. It depends on which camera, but you could see me look at Paul and I go like that to him. And I get right up in his face and I start playing like these Chuck Berry riffs, which when I watch back, it's like, that's all I played. Like, I guess I was too mind blown to actually play leads. But he was smiling, like all the pictures of him like smiling at me and stuff. So it was worth it was worth the effort. Now it's just me being, New York.
Is there anybody, Ricky, that you still covet to play with that you haven't yet?
Keith. And I'd like to do Maggie May with Rod Stewart once.
Have you met either of them?
I met Keith. Yeah, I met him twice, briefly. I never met Rod Stewart. I met Ronnie Wood because Carol was doing his publicity, so I went and met him at the hotel and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, I get more excited about meeting baseball players. When I meet Yankees, I'm like 12. Yeah. Excuse me, can I have your autograph? Can you sign my ball, please, Mr.
So are you going to go to Yankee Stadium? And
I've done, in the summer. I've done a couple of gigs, events with Bernie Williams on guitar, See, what I was going to say to you is in my bio, it's got, recorded, tour, or shared a stage with. And the list is very impressive. I toured obviously with Joan. I was in that band for 10 years. I toured with, I did about Ian Hunter. I did an album and a radio tour and some gigs with Roger Daltrey. I did a couple of, like a week or two with John Waite. I played with Southside Johnny for a year. But other than that, all of those other names are because I'm in this, what we talked about before, where I'm in the all-star band of these events.
Right.
So we all, and I'm talking about like Liberty DeVito on drums, our mutual friend, Jeff Carlisi from 38 Special. Sometimes it's Will Lee. Sometimes it's,
yes.
Yeah, there's all different, Shaffer or Rob Arthur, who plays with Frampton. And we're backing up. That list of names are people that I've played 2 or 3 songs. Smokey Robinson, Mavis Staples, like it's on and on. So I'm a lucky guy that I've been able to, talk about, I mean, playing I'll Take You There with Mavis was a high point. I got to be honest. Playing 3 songs with Smokey Robinson was like absolutely ridiculous. And before the show, I went over to him and I said, dude, this is what I said to him. I swear to you, my hand to God, as the comedians used to say. I said, when I was a kid in the Bronx on the roof on Tar Beach with a transistor radio, listening to Tracks of My Tears, and tonight I'm your motherfucking guitar player. That's what I said to him. And he had this big, started laughing and smiling and stuff. And then I know from his book that he's also been clean for a long time. I said, and I just celebrated whatever it was. So it's 5 years ago. Gives me this big Smokey Robinson hug and stuff. And It's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sitting behind Brian Wilson doing God Only Knows. Come on, really? You serious? You know, doing.
I don't want you to bust anybody, but has anybody been a disappointment?
No, I don't know those things.
Wow.
Everybody's been very nice and kind and stuff. I mean, maybe some people are crankier than others. I mean, great story. We did. Eddie Money was one of the guests, I remember. So during we were rehearsing, and he was great. He come over and he goes, "You look great," because I hadn't seen him in ages. But he was great. He was just so funny and stuff. So and we do like I don't know, Tickets to Paradise or something, and everybody's going crazy. And then he leans back between me and Carlise and he goes, "Can you believe these people still like this shit?" You know, with a big smile on his face. I mean, some of it's been amazing. We did Gene Chandler, Duke of Earl. He was one of these guests.
Duke, yeah.
So, and I later heard this as part of his act, but ladies and gentlemen, Gene Chandler, and we start going Duke of Earl, and just over and over. Where is he? Way at the other side of the convention center. The doors open and a red spot, like a spot goes on him, and then he's wearing a cape with satin on the inside, walking to the beat slowly. Beautiful. It had to be 7 minutes. We got to the stage.
God.
You know, I did Wooly Bully with Sam the Sham. I mean, there's a million stories. Just all these people I grew up listening to.
What was the greatest, most exciting, like stadium or like, what blew your mind? I'm sure there were many, but what's blown your mind? Like when you walked out on the stage, like I would imagine like Wembley or Madison Square Garden
we did a whole stadium tour. So we played, you know, we opened for Queen in England. That was 14 million people or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. But we played Shea Stadium. You know, and I grew up in, you know, the Bronx, but we moved to Flushing. I went to Flushing High School, you know. And all I could was those freak kids that used to, you know, take the piss out of me when I was there with my, you know, playing guitar in the on the field next to Flushing High School, because I lived right next to the high school. You know, the bully kids, you know, the jocks or whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm playing Shea Stadium.
Wow, it's great.
Yeah,
it's great.
And I mean, there's millions, like all kinds of big places. We did 5 nights on Broadway with Joan. I remember looking up and seeing Bowie sitting in one of the boxes, looking down. You know, we're doing Rebel, and he's up there like looking at.
Wow. Did he come back?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I remember playing the last Beach Boys July 4th concert, that giant concert that we did in Philly and we did in DC. Like, you know, the bands crossed, like first you played there and the end of the night, fireworks going off and everybody's on stage. We're doing fun. Yeah, there's a million stories. But then there's stories like, you know, playing a gig with, at a college, and BB King played. Not we weren't on the same bill, kind of. It was like separate crowds. And I'm walking downstairs in this college, and I walk past this dressing room. BB King's in there packing up his guitar, and I freeze. And he went, "Hey, son, come on in, sit down." And I'm sitting there for 15 minutes with BB King talking to me. I was like, you know, I got all this. Sometimes I forget, and I go, "Oh yeah, I remember that." You know, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And as a baseball fan, I remember playing Evansville, Indiana. Don Mattingly is with his college friends standing on the side of the stage drinking beers. You know, when Donnie was playing with the Yankees, Mr. Baseball. So it's endless. No, I don't want to write a book. Don't even say it. Because you know what we need is another musician writing a book.
Well, I don't know. You know, Keith's got a great book, and you have so many.
Well, his life's way more exciting than mine was.
You have amazing photos. I mean, even if you put together like a coffee table.
Yeah, I don't know. I got so much stuff I'm doing. I just want to get back to my recovery music groups and try to be a counselor and promote this record. Let's get back to my record, and let's end with my record.
Let's end with your record.
Sobering Times.
Do you want me to play a track before we go?
You could do that when I'm finished talking, yeah.
Okay.
Sobering Times. You could get it on all of your. So it's a rock and roll record with a message of hope. It's a recovery, lyrics and hope and hopefully inspiration. And there's funny stuff on there too, but it's like a lot of slam and rock and roll and some beautiful acoustic things. And hopefully somebody out there listening that might be struggling will get something out of it, like lyric wise. But you could get it on all the online portals, all the stores. Where the kids go today. And I heard it's in like Walmart and stuff like that, which is really cool. I have to go visit and see my record in the store. And if you'd like a signed copy, and I'll throw some like Byrd swag in, like the guitar picks and like stickers and such, and I'll write something on the front. You go to rickybyrd.com, and there's also the lyrics are all on rickybyrd.com. There's photos on rickybyrd.com, and there's links to all my other thing. I'm just almost finished with getting my YouTube channel. I've been told in no uncertain terms to get my YouTube channel together and start doing some stuff on there. So I've been collecting all these videos and putting them into playlists. You could find that, and there's all this live stuff from me with Joan, me with Ian Hunter, the only thing I can find is anything with me and Southside Johnny. So I put the word to the Southside people, the fans. So all those links are at the bottom. I tried doing some like Bird's words stuff and writing something. I just never do it. I can't, and I love to write. I just don't have time to sit down and write stuff.
So how are you feeling your end of pandemic days? Let's hope end of pandemic.
Well, I'm planning on going to the gym really soon because I'm starting to feel like here in New York. I mean, I don't know if they're too soon or not, but Broadway's supposedly opening at 100% capacity in September.
No, much sooner. And I've heard that
I think they said September 1st.
They did? Because somebody was telling me something, and I thought that was crazy. But I heard that you're going to have to show your vaccination card.
What's really interesting, I just finished a book, a Dorothy Parker book, and it was all of her Broadway reviews from 1918 to 23. We know what happened in 1918. There's little to no mention of the pandemic. She went every night on Broadway.
Wow.
What she did say is she mentioned the pandemic, and she said, Broadway producers are using the pandemic as an excuse when a show is bombing to close the show.
Wow.
She says that in the book. But little to every night she's out at I don't see anything like, oh, they closed for 2 weeks. And like a lot of people did not make it through that. So, and there's no vaccine. There was no hope. There was no such thing as a vaccine yet.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to getting, I don't know how long it's going to be before I can get out and go to these treatment facilities because they're not even letting people in. I've been asked to do a couple of outdoor recovery things in July, which I'm considering. It'd be great to go to Yankee Stadium later. We'll see how it goes. I mean, the infection rate, I'm vaccinated.
Have you done stuff? Like, have you eaten outside at a restaurant? Have you?
Oh, yeah. Me and Frankie, like, when we go into the city, when I'm getting my hair cut or something, or we're getting a haircut, our haircuts. Anyway.
When we get our hair, yeah,
we go to these little outdoor joints. But it's it's scary, man. And I always say this: I always feel uncomfortable sitting out there. And there was just another accident where one person got killed, where like a truck came at it, or a car smashed into the people sitting outside. It's a little dubious sitting outside in the street.
Yeah,
you're right there. So there's been quite a few accidents like that. I don't know how many people were, didn't make it. I know one didn't make it from this last one, but it's slowly coming back.
Do you feel
everybody does the right thing, man? It'll come back faster.
Do you feel safer? I'm sure you feel safer being vaccinated, but do you feel? Are you ready to go back to just regular life? Are you concerned about the variants? Is what I'm asking you. I guess.
Well, they keep saying. I mean, I've been wanting through this whole thing to follow science and not watch any cable news about it. I just watch no channel. Like I just watch what Dr. Fauci and those people say. well, he changed his mind. It's like, yeah, because it keeps changing, man. Science. Why didn't he say? He said not to wear masks. Yeah, because they didn't know people were asymptomatic. See, they thought it was like the flu where you coughed and sneezed and then you have a clue. No, you could be perfectly fine. So at the beginning, we didn't know this yet. So and also there weren't enough masks for everybody and the front liners, right? So when people say, well, he said this, it's like, it's science, dude. It keeps changing every day. They're learning about this. This isn't like a thing that stands still. Right. It keeps mutating. It keeps changing. So they have to keep adapting to it, and they keep giving us news. Sometimes it's the same. Sometimes it changes a little bit. So how do you personally feel about it? I mean, do you feel that, are you ready to get on a plane? Are you ready to go and sit shoulder to shoulder with other people inside? Or, well, they have said that if you're vaccinated, and planes supposedly have great filtration systems. Yeah. Right? Filtration, is that the right word? It's a good word. I don't think that's the right word, though. Ventilation. I don't know. Yeah, because that's a water thing. I think filtration. I think it's ventilation, but yeah. I'm not afraid to look stupid on Facebook. But there are no stupid questions. There are no stupid. Well, I think the problem is you don't know who is vaccinated next to you. But if you're vaccinated, they said, and everybody's wearing masks, and they're saying that you can, at this point, you can consider yourself, unless something drastically changes. Because in places it's different infection rates. I think it would be. I think I feel pretty safe. You serious? I mean, you still on? Carol's like, are you serious? Yeah, like you're still on. Really? It's like I haven't seen my mom in a year, so like I want to go down to Florida and see her. So I'm thinking maybe it's coming soon, in a month or two. Yeah, you feel like you can get on a plane? Well, people are flying, no? My daughter's flying in from New York on Friday. I haven't seen her in 15 months. I'm losing my mind. I'm so excited. I think it's going to take time for people to be, like, even personally, like they came on TV and they said, listen, when you're outside, you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated and you're not around a lot of people. That's what they said. How do you feel about that? Are you ready to walk around outside without a mask? Because I still wear a mask. I think that they said that we can. Yeah. So that's what the science says. So the point is, emotionally, we're going to have to feel comfortable. It's going to be like dipping into the cold water at the beach, Yeah. And I was walking to the post office. I had my mask on. I'm like, why am I wearing my mask? And I see everybody's wearing masks in my neighborhood still. It's going to take a while for people to feel that sense of okayness. So listen, what is it, one day at a time? I think I heard that. I don't know where I heard that. I think I've heard that somewhere. All right, I got nothing else to say. So if there's anybody who wants to reach you for recovery reasons, how can they get a hold of you? Is there a thing on your website for people to contact you? There is. Turns out there is. Or else on social media, just, private message me or DM me or whatever they call it. Yeah, those kids. So Sobering Times, and they can get it at rickybyrd.com or at any music buying outlet now. Yes. I recommend it highly. I was going to play a song, but I think I need to just let you go. It's been a long time. Carol's getting antsy. Yeah, I have nothing else to say. Okay, I was going to play your music, but we'll just go. Play it yourself. Yeah. You know how uncomfortable it is for me to sit here and you play my music? Yeah, I'm not going to. I wanted you. Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. I wouldn't even know where to look. This is the first time I've seen you in it's been, I think, a few years since I saw you last. It's good to see you, Ricky. And you too. Thank you for asking me. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everything you do. I'm a sober woman. I appreciate what you do very much. I'm just trying to help. The only how I know how to help. We can't play to your strengths. We can't keep it if we don't give it away. They told me that somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. So you're giving it away big time. Thanks a million. It was great to see you. Send my love to Carol and say hi to Frank. Let's do the Ringo thing. Peace and love. Okay, everybody. Take care. Take care. Bye. Thank you.